Of course, if you were watching Paul Murray live before, you would have had all the lowdown on the second leaders' debate tonight. Of course, Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton faced off on the ABC this time. We'll get into a little more detail in a moment, but if you missed it, here's a little bit of Dutton's performance.
We approach the 3rd of May. Many Australians will be asking themselves, are you better off today than you were 3 years ago? People have seen food prices go up by 30%. Their mortgages have gone up on 12 occasions. Over the last 2 years, the government's brought in 1 million people, all of whom want homes and all of whom are competing against young Australians for that rental property or to purchase a home. That's 1 million people, which is 70% higher than any 2-year period in our country's history. Anthony, your government has modelled negative gearing changes and CGT changes.
Well,
the Treasurer has done that.
That's not right.
Well, it is.
Now, look, I don't think there were any knockout blows from Peter Dutton here. I don't think he walked in there and had Anthony Albanese on the floor completely defeated. I think he did a decent job, but there was nothing that made me look at that debate and go, well, this is really going to turn the dial. Of course, Anthony Albanese was talking up his economic record.
We are the only government in the last 20 years that have produced consecutive budget surpluses, and we've halved the deficit this year. As a direct result of the responsible economic management that we have, debt is $177 billion less.
Now, interestingly, they were both asked what sort of great economic legacy they would leave. They were given the example of, John Howard and the GST, floating the dollar as Paul Keating did. What is the great economic vision that your government has or would have? Peter Dutton referred to nuclear, which I think is a fair thing to nominate. That is a serious policy. But the one Albanese came up with, of all the things he could possibly say, this is the great reform my government will achieve, is affordable childcare. Something tells me that in 20 years' time, people won't be looking back at this government and going, that great reform that Anthony Albanese pushed through, affordable childcare. If that's as good as his vision gets, it tells us a lot about where this government is at. There were a couple of other slip-ups, one by Anthony Albanese when he was asked point blank, when the hell are power bills going to come down?
Sorry, just sticking with your plan, Mr Albanese, when will the bills come down?
Under our plan, we know that renewables are the cheapest form of power, and that is why we are doing that, rolling it out, including through gas. Peter raised gas. Gas is now $13. It was $30.
And when does it get cheaper?
When we came off, 13 is cheaper than 30.
When do we